Prime time in prime time tonight to kick off week one of college football. Colorado hosting North Dakota State. ESPN Bet has the Buffaloes a 9.5-point favorite. It is worth noting the Bison of North Dakota State have won 6 of their last 7 games against FBS opponents. And of course, Harry covers college football for us, so he's here. And our buddy Greg McElroy, who's as good at this as anybody, is in with us as well here. I've been trying to tell everyone, but Greg, I'd like you to explain it because you can do it better than I can. If you are sleeping on North Dakota State, you are making a huge mistake. This is not going to be an easy night for Deion in Colorado.
You summed it up perfectly, Greeny. I mean, I don't even feel like I have anything else to add. I mean, if you haven't watched North Dakota State, they are built to exploit the weaknesses that Colorado had last year. This is a team that has terrific skill personnel. Colorado is as good as anybody at wide receiver and at quarterback. The problem is they were atrocious, and I use that word lovingly, on the offensive and defensive lines last year. North Dakota State, that's how they're built. They're built from the inside out, and if they want to play in a phone booth, you're going to play in a phone booth. It's going to be up to Deion Sanders and his staff to make sure that his players' skill, speed, talent, acceleration, athleticism, that's what wins in the game. Because if they want to get into an old school throwdown slugfest where it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, you're playing right in North Dakota State's hands. So I think they need to be super careful tonight against a team that's super physical and plays with the chip on their shoulder.
It could be a fascinating night. I'm really looking forward to watching this. And Harry, let's talk about what's at stake for Deion Sanders here. I mean, it has been a week of a lot of conversation. We've all seen what happened with the columnist and all the rest of that. There's always a lot of spotlight. Now they're playing in this game. What is at stake here? I mean, if you look at Colorado and getting into the start of their season, how would you describe what is at stake for Deion and his program tonight?
Well, I would say when you look at last year, a year ago, when they went and played TCU, you've seen how that set their season up. And when I say set their season up, I mean the first 4 games. Deion Sanders and his Colorado program was the talk of college football. It wasn't Alabama. It wasn't USC. It wasn't Ohio State. It was the Colorado Buffaloes. But I would say this. When you look at North Dakota State's quarterback, Cam Miller, he's a chess piece because he's a guy that completed 71% of his passes last year, but also rushed for 13 touchdowns. So you have to make sure you're able to contain him. Now, what Greg talked about, the offensive line, 5 new guys starting for Colorado this season. They got a 5-star recruit in Jordan Seaton. But when you have a Travis Hunter and you have a Shedeur Sanders, 2 guys who I expect to be in the top 10 of the NFL draft in 2025, you should be able to win this ball game. But do not get into a slugfest. Make this thing over early and send North Dakota State home.
Okay, we'll see if they're able to do it. It's a huge night in a lot of ways. Let's run through a bunch of other college stuff here. Greg, I haven't had you in a long time, and I'm looking forward to doing it. Let's do some burning questions around the sport. Let's start with your alma mater in Alabama. No more Nick Saban. Can this team win a national championship in the new 12-team playoff without the legendary coach?
Yes, they can, Grady. And while Coach Saban, he's amazing, and I think he's the greatest program builder in the history of the sport. But all signs, because of the way he's built this program, will point to them still being successful with him not on the sideline. And I think there's like this hesitancy to give Alabama credit. Like, they can't possibly win without Nick Saban, right? There's no way, because that would be discrediting the good work that Nick Saban did for the last 17 years. But man, they are ready, built to succeed under Kalen DeBoer, who's a phenomenal head coach and a great hire by Greg Byrne.
And that quarterback you see there, Jalen Milroe, who is certainly figures to be in the Heisman conversation if things break their way. Harry, let's go to primetime Saturday night. Notre Dame taking on Texas A&M. I've heard people tell me if Notre Dame wins this game, just put them in the playoff now. So here's the burning question. Is their playoff fate going to be decided Saturday night at Texas A&M?
I believe so. This is a must-win for Notre Dame, but what's dynamic about this game is that you have the head coach for Texas A&M, Mike Elko, who used to be the head coach of Notre Dame's quarterback, Riley Leonard. So he knows him inside out, and vice versa for Riley Leonard as well. But what I'm concerned about for Notre Dame going into this matchup is their offensive line. They lost 2 guys, and then one of their tackles that they were banking on playing and starting, he got hurt. But the strength of Texas A&M is their defensive line. So they have to make sure that they're okay offensive line-wise. But I think Florida State kind of hurt them a little bit. Now, if Florida State can revamp and come back and still be in contention of the college football playoffs, even though they lost their first matchup against Georgia Tech, then Notre Dame is still sitting in a promising position. That Georgia Tech game, October 19th, is going to be a valuable one as well.
If you looked at that schedule, what you did notice, a lot of little numbers next to the teams. Notre Dame does not play a lot of teams that figure to be good. Again, all these things can change. We saw Georgia Tech, who knows what they'll be by that point. But the point is, Notre Dame's schedule feels easy, which on one level means maybe they bank a whole bunch of wins. On another, it means they may not be able to absorb a bad loss. Finally, Greg, you've got Clemson, Georgia on Saturday, which is an unbelievable game. And I'm not going to ask you to answer whether they should be on upset alert. You got to broadcast the game. So instead, I will ask you, what will decide it? What is the key to this game between what everyone thinks is the best team in the country and Clemson looking to recapture some of that glory?
Well, I appreciate avoiding the answering of the question of whether or not they're on upset alert. You're a pro's pro, Greeny, and me going to see Kirby Smart later today and coaches' meetings wouldn't have been very fun had I answered that question. So I look at this, and it's really about Phil Maffa, Clemson's running back, who's outstanding, by the way. Starting at the end of last year, last 5 games of the year, he averaged like 20, 21 carries a game. He never had more than 16 in his career in the 8 games prior last year. He really became a bell cow. He's a physical runner that can get downhill. And then on the other side, the potential #1 overall pick in the 25 draft is Carson Beck. He's amazing. I mean, he is so good when his feet are set. So similar in stature and the way his game kind of looks a little like Tom Brady in the sense where if his feet are set, he will tear you apart. But Clemson's made a living putting pressure on the quarterback over the years. So if they can do it, they might have some success.
That's part of an unbelievable Week 1. Greg, it is great to see you again, my man, and we'll continue to do this through the season. Look at the lineup we have starting tonight. All right, so you got Deion tonight, and what I'm telling you is not going to be an easy game. Tomorrow night, we got Oklahoma on ESPN. Then on Saturday, it starts with Clemson and Georgia. Look at the lineup of games that we have, and then on Sunday, we got USC and LSU. If you're a college football fan, folks, just put your feet up. It's going to be unbelievable.